Award-winning speaker with Caitlyn Jenner and Suzanne Summers at Harvard and NASDAQ, #1 best-selling author of It's My Life Too, Mr. Dave Nassaney.
If everybody would just look to the left at the person sitting there. Great, now look to the right at the person sitting there. Now, if you're the third person, according to AARP, the first one you looked at is a caregiver. The second one you looked at is going to become a caregiver. The third one is going to need a caregiver. Now, out of all those caregivers, roughly half of them are constantly feeling down, depressed, and hopeless. Many of those are going to become sicker than the ones they're caring for, eventually needing a caregiver of their own. And the worst group, the 30%, well, they're just going to die before their loved ones do. This is why caregivers need to become selfish in order to survive caregiving. I know this firsthand. My wife Charlene and I had a fairy tale, storybook, romance, courtship, and marriage for the first 21 years of our life together. We had 3 daughters, we raised them, we got them out of the house, we even got them all married, each one twice. And now we have 7 grandchildren, and right about the time that we were supposed to be entering into the empty nest phase of life where we had freedom and independence and no responsibility, my wife complains to me about this headache that she had for 3 days. Now, we didn't think much about it at the time. I mean, it was only a headache. But on the 4th day, she calls me up at work at my gas station. Hello? Dave, I need to go to the ambulance. Take me to the hospital. Little did I know that those would be the last words that she would ever speak again. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. The woman I loved had suffered a massive stroke that left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. And in that moment, I was no longer just her husband. I became her husband and her caregiver. That was 22 years ago. I gotta tell you, the next 2 years was a living hell for both of us. It wasn't long before that I started experiencing many of the 4 top symptoms that every caregiver experiences. Number 1, guilt. It was never good enough. Number 2, overwhelm. There was never enough help. Number 3, isolation. Nobody knew how I was feeling. Number 4, hopelessness. I felt like I was just sentenced to life in caregiver prison with no way out. Thank God for the person who took me to a caregiver support group. I didn't even know what a caregiver support group was, but I went because I was desperate. And everything changed. I found hope. I learned that if I didn't put my mask on first, I would never survive. Well, I'm so thankful for caregiving support because of that, I was able to help my wife get through her grief. Now, she reinvented herself. She came to that acceptance. She embraced her new normal. She realized God kept her alive for maybe she wasn't done on this earth. Now, she still cannot talk, but she can communicate non-verbally through Pictionary, charades, 2 games I hate, by the way, but I'm learning to love. She still can't walk, but I bought her a wheelchair, power chair. It's been to almost every country and every state in the Union, and I have trouble keeping up with her. Everyone who meets her just thinks that she's amazing. She has a smile on her face, joy in her heart, and yet she's disabled. She makes all of us people look like whiners and complainers. Thanks to this process that I've been going through, I have written a book, a bestseller. It's My Life Too. And I've spoken all across the country on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, from Washington, D.C. to Hawaii. I've spoken at Harvard and NASDAQ. I've shared the stage with Suzanne Summers and Caitlyn Jenner. Yes, that Caitlyn. I've spoken at a TED Talk, and I am speaking at international corporations like Coca-Cola, Mercedes. And I've even spoken at our nation's future leaders at West Point. My mission in life, in conclusion, is that I want to help caregivers stay alive. And I want to do this because I built a community of caregivers on my website, caregiverdave.com. And I did that so that I can help other caregivers, just like me, not only survive caregiving, but thrive. Thank you very much.